Backstory is the foundation of engaging characters and believable plots. When it's well integrated and authentic, it drives the main story and makes us cheer for those characters. When it doesn't hit the mark, it slows the pace to a total snooze and increases the likelihood that readers are going to completely abandon your book. Most writers don't struggle to come up with colourful backstories for their characters. The problem comes when they have to deliver it onto the page. That's why I want to talk about some of the key delivery concepts so they can become truly embedded in your psyche before we spend the next 2 weeks practicing all the different techniques. Here's another food analogy for you, because you know I love those. The idea is to keep the reader chewing on backstory without making them choke. So there are 3 concepts to keep in mind. Use it sparingly, keep it front and centre in the reader's mind, and make sure it's relevant. We've already established that the aim of backstory is to support the front story, and it can't do that if it's trying to steal the show. So you need to break it into bite-sized pieces and sneak it in so the reader will hardly notice. The last thing we want is for them to stop and say, "Gee, that was some really interesting backstory." Hell no. We want them to remember our characters and the emotions they evoked. The backstory should just simmer away underneath the surface. That way it's more likely the reader's going to feel like they're exploring and discovering that information for themselves rather than you just telling them about it. Because backstory is the very key to your character's motivations, you need to keep it front and centre in the reader's mind to ensure they understand why the character is making choices or behaving in a certain way. It's the key to that holy grail of emotional engagement that all authors seek, and to do this you need to remind them of the key elements quite often. But won't that get repetitive, I hear you say? Not on my watch, because you just won't be repeating the same old information over and over. You'll be adding new information each time. It's like a dripping tap with a steady release of small amounts that build on one another until there's a puddle in the basin. So when the final piece of information is revealed, the reader can look back at the whole story and understand how the character got to this point. It's all about the delayed gratification. Think about it like meeting someone new at a party. You don't just want to blurt out your entire history, because not only would it take too long, but your new friend would be bored to tears hearing about the cat you had when you were 5. And once they felt they knew everything there was to know about you, what incentive would there be to continue the conversation? Talk about awkward. And that's not what you want with your characters. Although you may develop a lifetime of backstory for your character, when you are writing, only concern yourself with that which drives the front story. It must be relevant in that particular moment, or don't put it in. As Stephen King says, the most important things to remember about backstory are that A, everyone has a history, and B, most of it isn't very interesting. Stick to the parts that are and don't get carried away with the rest.